Thank you everyone. Welcome to the scheduled July meeting of Swan Hill Rural City Council. Welcome to councillors, officers, public in the gallery and everybody watching on the live stream today. Swan Hill Rural City Council acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet and pays its respects to their elders past and present. Councillor McPhee, the prayer please.
Thank you. We beseech you, Lord, that we may be granted wisdom, understanding and sincerity of purpose in the decisions we are called on to make for the welfare of the people of the rural city of Swan Hill.
Amen. Please be seated. We have an apology from Councillor Rogers today, who is quite unwell. Could I have somebody move that apology, please? Move Councillor Jennings, second, and Councillor Inglefield. All those in favour? That is carried. Thank you. Directors and officers present today. We have Scott Barber, Chief Executive Officer, Michelle Granger, Director of Development and Planning, Bruce Myers, Director of Community and Cultural Services, Leah Johnston, Director of Infrastructure, Sharon Lindsay, Executive Assistant, and Peter Brown, Acting Director... No? Did I say Peter? Sorry. Peter Brown, Acting Director of Corporate Services, sorry, and Helen Morris will be joining us as Organisational Development Manager. Thank you, Directors and Officers. We have the minutes of the previous meeting, councillors. Could I have somebody to move those minutes, please? Move Councillor Broad, seconded Councillor Thornton. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Disclosures of conflict of interest, councillors. As already indicated, I'm declaring a conflict of interest in agenda item 2.4.2, the Community Grants Event Support Fund agenda item, because my father is a board member of the Swan Hill Bowls Club who have applied for one of those grants. So I'll be leaving the room when that item is considered. We will move on to agenda item 1.8. Joint letters and reading of petitions. Mr. CEO, I believe we have a... can I have a motion that standing orders be suspended, please? Move Councillor Broad, seconded Councillor Jennings. Thank you. All in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Sorry. Sorry, have I got something around the wrong way? So are we at joint letters or are we at public question time? Petition first and then, sorry. Yep. Can I have a motion that we go back into, thank you, Councillor Jennings, seconded, Councillor Broad, thank you, all in favour, carried, thank you. So we will deal with joint letters and reading petitions before we get to public question time. Sorry about that. 1.8, petition regarding the Robinvale Hotel, return it to the community. Mr. CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the 8th of July, we received a petition for the Swan Hill Rural City Council to consider protecting the Robinvale Hotel and reject or defer the planning application PLN 2024090. Just would like councillors to note this petition is similar but slightly different to the petition received at the scheduled meeting of council on the 20th of May 2025. This petition had 589 names and addresses. Under section 7.21.7 in the governance rules, this is a statutory matter, so a petition that relates to a statutory matter is actually received as a submission, a joint submission. So we've said in the notes we've received this as a petition, but it will be responded to as a joint submission. I ask that councillors consider the recommendation that council receive the joint submission and refer the joint submission to the Director of Development and Planning for consideration and response.
Yes, Councillor McFay.
Yes, Mr. CEO, just on the agenda, you only have names where we've seen a petition earlier that had postcodes and suburbs. Why are they being redacted?
I might look across.
Because that's not
It was an
information.
electronic submission this time, so it was a little bit different, Mr. Deputy Mayor. being electronic submission, we didn't necessarily have the signatures, but you're saying you'd like the addresses of those individuals.
It wasn't the addresses we had initially. We
No.
had postcodes and the suburb they came from
Right.
on the last petition that was at an assembly or I've seen. I'm just asking, why is that redacted? Because that's not
Yeah.
disclosing who the people are,
It
that's
was a
all.
slightly different format. It came through a different system by the lead petitioner, so the information was a little bit different, but you can see the names and the number of names, Mr Deputy Mayor.
All right, just one further question then.
Yep.
As I say, like I've counted, I'm just asking the question. The petition where we had the postcodes and the suburbs the people come from, how many people on that petition of 500 were actually from the Robinvale postcode?
I haven't done an assessment name by name.
Well, I counted 37. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McPhee. Any other questions in relation to this agenda item, councillors? If not, could I have a motion regarding this? Councillor Thornton?
I would like to move an amended motion that the councillors have a copy of in front of them. I would like to move
Sorry, is this in relation to this? Because we're receiving...
that we receive.
My understanding is that this is being treated as a joint submission, Mr CEO, not as a petition as such, because it relates to a statutory matter. Is that correct?
That's correct. This particular submission is being treated as we haven't yet responded. Later in item 2.1, we're providing a response.
My apologies. I'd like
That's
to
okay.
move a motion to accept the
Yep, as per recommendation.
as per recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Thornton. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Okay, seconded, Councillor Broad. Do you wish to speak to the motion, Councillor Thornton?
No.
Councillor Broad? No? Then I will put the motion. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Thank you. Now I will ask for a motion that standing orders be suspended, please, councillors. Move Councillor Jennings, seconded Councillor Englefield. All those in favour? Motion's carried. Thank you. So we will move to public question time. And we have one public question that has been submitted. And the question comes from Nicole McKay. And the question is, since the fire at the Robinvale Hotel in 2015, how many building orders were issued by Swan Hill Rural City Council to secure the site from public access, to make the site safe, to protect the heritage building or ensure the safety of the building through reinforcement? And a follow-up question, were there any prior engineering reports that stated that the building was structurally sound? Mr CEO.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Ms McKay, for the question, who's attending in the gallery today. The first question, there have been 5 building notices or orders to secure and make safe the Robinvale Hotel since the building was impacted by fire in 2015. The second part to the question is, yes, there was. So there have been 2 engineering reports. One was received in 2024, which has been attached to the documents today. The other was received in 2015. Neither report gave Council the confidence that the building was safe or structurally sound. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move to open forum, which we did have a request for open forum today. However, the person who has requested open forum is not present. So in that case, we're just going to double check, are we? So in that case, I will ask for a motion that standing orders be resumed and we will continue with the meeting. Move Councillor Thornton, seconded Councillor Broad. Those in favour? Carried. So we will move to agenda item 2.1, Robinvale Hotel, response to petitions submitted May and July 2025. And Ms Granger, this is your
Thank you,
report.
Mayor. So, Council, as a follow-on from the last item that you dealt with, We have dealt in this report with the two combined petitions because there is some similarity between them. So they both relate to the Robinvale Hotel. That's privately owned freehold land and it's a commercial site and currently subject to a planning permit application for demolition, which is the next item on the agenda. The hotel has heritage significance, but this has been diminished due to its damage by fire and the building being exposed to the elements for the last 10 years. Council did receive a petition at its meeting in May 25, and then last month this item was again brought to Council for decision but was deferred to give the community time to consider the depth of information that's been presented. Since the June Council meeting, Council's received the additional petition, which is somewhat similar but raises further issues for Council. Council, in considering this item, need to consider the ask of the petitions and have regard to the opportunities and burdens this may have on the Robinvale and wider community, assessing risk, costs, fairness and a range of other factors. Petition 1 specifically requests that we, the undersigned, respectfully urge Swan Hill Rural City Council to consider purchasing the 9 blocks of land that make up the former Robinvale Hotel site. This includes the 2 blocks where the burnt-out hotel building currently stands, as well as the 7 surrounding blocks. It then gives us some further information about why they would like council to acquire it, and that petition had 196 signatures. Petition 2 is called Save the Robinvale Hotel, Return it to the Community, and the petition specifically requests that council reject the current demolition proposal, and they've quoted the planning reference number, that council acquire ownership of the site through private purchase or using its powers under the Planning and Environment Act, and that it preserve and maintain the facade of the building and other elements of heritage significance and improve the entire site for Robinvale community benefit. That signature had 589 signatures. So just to give you a bit of an overview of the site, so it's in a commercial 1 zone and it has the heritage overlay of local significance HO 99. All titles other than those on which the hotel sits are currently on the market, and the Robinvale Housing Strategy identified the site for future use for hospitality and accommodation. Just some background information. So council over the last 3 years has considered and reviewed advice regarding the hotel site in response to ongoing concerns raised by the community about the derelict nature and the safety issues. Council has approached the owner on many occasions to be updated on plans and progress. We've sought legal advice about acquisition of the hotel, and have been advised that we can't compulsorily acquire it because it's not an action listed in an existing strategy. We've approached the owner on at least 2 occasions to determine if the land is for sale, and we've repeatedly sought that the site be secured to prevent trespass and ensure public safety. And late last year we issued a number of building notices and orders to make sure that those actions were undertaken. With respect to Robinvale, council, I think it's relevant to set some context on the investment that council has and is making in Robinvale. So council has prepared a housing and accommodation strategy and a rural worker accommodation strategy. Council's scope subdivided, tendered and constructed and sold 8 homes in Ronald Street. We've successfully applied for 10 houses in McCartney Court for rural workers, and they're currently under construction. We've got a resolution on our books to look at selling the Resource Centre, which is council office in Herbert Street, to facilitate redevelopment for mixed-use commercial and accommodation. We've done work on the Robinvale Recreation and Aquatic Centre. We've done curb and channel and footpaths. We've adopted the Robinvale Riverfront Master Plan, and out of that we've developed the skate park and playground. We're now looking at a new toilet block in that park, terracing of the riverbank near the rowing club and an off-leash dog park. Issues raised by both petitions relate to purchasing of the site and retention of the facade. Council's considered a range of options from do nothing and allow the planning permit to run its course, to acquisition of the site, land swap, partial demolition but retention of the facade, relocation of significant elements of the facade to another site in Robinvale, and supporting the Robinvale community with crowdfunding to secure the site. In considering both the planning permit application and a response to these petitions, Council has sought independent heritage advice, and that independent heritage advice does not object to the demolition based on an inspection of the building and the level of deterioration to the remaining building from both the fire in 2015 and then a more minor fire in 2024. When considering the request from the petition, we also asked consultants to give us an indication about what are the likely costs involved in addition to just purchase of the price. So what are the costs involved in demolition and in potential redevelopment? And they've told us that it's likely to be significant. The purchase price of the blocks of land that are currently on the market, which doesn't include the hotel, currently have an asking price of 1.28 million, which is significantly higher than the CIV rating. So in reviewing options as to how to approach the petitions, Council appreciates the community concern but does not consider that purchasing the site provides the best outcome for the town centre. The costs associated with purchase and demolition are unlikely to be recovered by Council, and it's not considered that that's a fair impost on ratepayers to be burdened in this way. There's no need currently demonstrated for Council to own further land in Robinvale. Council may be supportive of the Robinvale community purchasing the hotel and acknowledges that if this is an option that's taken up by the community, there may be a way to support this, and that in looking at the items raised in the petitions, there are a number of hotels that have been either bought or purchased by the community as co-ops in order to keep what is a valuable resource to the community going. Must be noted though, when we look at these examples, that they're existing hotels that are still operating and have a building that can be modified, whereas in this case the building is not in that condition. Petition 2 is the only petition that refers to deferral of the planning permit application for partial demolition. At this point in time, it's considered more appropriate to determine the planning application. Council needs to consider, when it's making its decision, procedural fairness. The planning permit application's been lodged with Council in good faith. It's been processed in accordance with the Act, and an opportunity has been given to objectors and submitters to discuss their concerns with Council. And the planning permit's listed next on the agenda. So I'm of the view, from a planning perspective, that Council has sufficient information to form a view based on the application, objections and submissions and the independent heritage assessment. We haven't done any specific consultation in regards to having received the petitions, and the report turns its mind to financial, social and economic implications in how you could assess the petitions. When reviewing risk management, Council needs to consider both financial, statutory, reputational and risk profiles, and if Council did purchase it, we would assume all those current risks that exist. So the recommendation in this report is that Council consider the submissions received as petitions and not support the purchase of the Robinvale Hotel, as we must then absorb the liabilities associated with the fire damage building, that we not defer the consideration of planning permit application for partial demolition, and that we advise the petitioners of this decision.
Thank you, Ms Granger. Any questions, councillors, in relation to the petition? Councillor McPhee.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Look, I have concerns in relation to part 2 of that recommendation. They're saying not to defer the consideration of a planning permit. That's a decision we're going to be making in another report. Why would we have that recommendation in this report if there's some other motion coming up? We're making a recommendation about another report in this report.
That's correct, but one of the grounds of the petition, one of the specifics, was that council defer consideration. So it's my view that we should make a decision on whether or not we support that particular ground.
Yeah.
Did you have a follow-up question?
No.
Councillor Thornton?
It might be worth noting that that is only the request of one of the petitions, though it's made me, hearing it again has made me think that, and foreshadowing an amended motion that I've considered, you could be looking at one petition rather than both. So that is only the request of one of the petitions.
That's correct.
Any other questions in relation to that, councillors? Councillor Thornton?
Not a question.
No? You've got your hand up.
I'd like to move an amended motion.
Go ahead.
I'd like to move an amended motion.
Sorry, is this as per what you've provided, or is it different?
I'm going to modify it just slightly based on the report. I'd like to move a motion that council consider the submissions and call for an expression of interest from the community to establish a working group that considers options for the future use and co-funding to purchase and or redevelop the Robin Vale Hotel.
And leave out?
Yep,
that's fine.
deferring the planning permit application.
So 3 becomes 2, councillor Thornton, just
Correct,
for clarity, thank you.
correct.
Yeah, obviously to advise petitioners.
To advise the petitioners via the lead signatory of the decision.
Thank you. Given it's an alternative motion, councillors, do you have any questions for councillor Thornton in relation to the alternative motion? Is there any additional context you require? Councillor Broad?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just with the working group, is there any idea on terms of reference or amount of people, and if it's open to everyone, or whether council officers have to be in that? Just a bit more information around the working group, if possible.
Thank you, Councillor Broad. My thinking on the working group is that via my research, via my discussions in the community, that there is an appetite to work with council, and that's over a sustained period, not just through this planning application, to work with council to look for opportunities for social and economic development. I think that it needs to be broad-based, but in this regard and relating to this motion, it does also need to involve some of the key signatories of the petitions. It also needs to be inclusive of other stakeholders, to my mind. And the other key component is that it needs to be timely. Like, we don't want this thing dragging on, so it would need to have a time limit for referring back to council.
Councillor Jennings?
Just with regard to if council's decision was not to purchase the site, is it not the case that a working group could be put together to negotiate with the legitimate landowner to achieve an outcome, whether it's to run it to redevelop it or to a range of options? Could that not be the case, that it wouldn't be necessary for a deferment? Those discussions could still continue on?
I think a working group could be established and should be established, given that the community is repeatedly asserting that they wish to work on these issues together with council, but at the same time, I think that it relates to this petition because it gives gives the community confidence that council is listening, and in response to a significant interest, it just shows that we're listening and that we want to engage and we want to collaborate.
There's no other questions, councillors. The motion, can you just make it clear that motion. So everybody's got the chance to read it. The motion there is there in front of you. Councillor Thornton has moved the motion. Do I have a seconder for the motion?
I'll second the motion, Mr Mayor.
Seconded Councillor McPhee. Councillor Thornton, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Thank you very much, Councillor McPhee, for seconding the motion. When I ran for Swan Hill Council, one of my platforms, still up on my website now, was to deliver the projects that matter to community. And the Robinvale Hotel is one such issue. Over a sustained period from as far back as 2019 and 2020, with the development of the Robinvale Housing Strategy, last year through co-signed correspondence to Council, and now via this planning application process for partial demolition, the community has demonstrated a keenness to work with Council to get the best outcome on the hotel site for Robinvale. During the hearings held by Council for the planning permit and through further discussions and research, I have been so impressed by this proud, vibrant and diverse community. It seems to me that Robinvale has overcome many issues. It is such a special river town in our municipality. I believe there are significant risks to Council of reputational loss when we do not respond to strong community interest, with some, even if measured, further engagement. And conversely, there is a significant opportunity to build trust in Council that we are listening, which is why I propose we seek interest from the community and key stakeholders for a short-term working group to look at purchase or redevelopment of the site in more depth. Council has invested significant resources in the Homes Dyer housing strategy and more, which has identified many of the risks and opportunities highlighted by community in the planning permit process, such as scope of key sites in Robinvale, including council-held sites, recognition that without council involvement, further stagnation will likely to continue, and recognition that the limited town offering is a drag on economic and social development. The working group can quickly as possible assess crowd and community funding opportunities, highlight the already excellent work that Council has done in Robinvale, including the many and various models for housing stimulus that Council are currently looking at, and identify other funding opportunities through state and federal government. They can also look at rationalisation of council assets together with Council to help fund priority areas. Such a collaboration is the sweet spot where Council is really shining, in my opinion. It is doing so with the Swan Hill Housing Committee, and it also shows that, and data also shows that the concerted efforts of Council in Robinvale in housing is paying off. Our recently adopted housing strategy shows that growth in residential rated properties over the past 5 years is 3.55% in Robinvale, only 1.78% in Swan Hill. Sustained effort addressing issues and in turn growing council revenue. My point is not that Robinvale has missed out, but the effort is paying off and we can do more. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thornton. Councillor McPhee, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'm actually going to speak against the motion. I've just seconded to give an opportunity for debate in relation to this because there is a big interest in this process in the Robinvale community. I think the motion is preempting a decision that we're going to make in a later report. We shouldn't be considering a expressions of interest from the community at this point in time. I take on board the effort that the community have put in relation to both these submissions. As I said before, the online submission, when we first saw it, we had postcodes and suburbs of the people where they live, albeit the people may have moved on, but of that 500 plus in that online petition, only 37 had a Robinvale postcode. We've got to be mindful, you've got 500 plus in that petition, 200 plus in another petition. We're talking 700, 800 people have written or put a name to a petition. There are a lot more people that live in Robinvale than that. And as a council, we've got to look on the whole community as a whole because there's arguments on both sides of this and we need to debate that in a future motion. So unfortunately, I'm going to not support this motion at this point. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, councillor McPhee. Do any other councillors wish to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Englefield.
Yeah, I'd speak against the motion, Mr Mayor. I mean, I'll have more to say after, but there's nothing that Councillor Thornton has proposed that can't be done outside of the auspice of council if there's a community wish to do so and a community groundswell to do so. But it's fair to say that this is it's a 50-50 issue in Robin Vale. So it really comes down to what should council do on behalf of all ratepayers. And I will talk to more to it in a minute, but to my mind, the expenditure of significant amounts of council ratepayers, taxpayers, money when we have significant information that suggests that there's not a viable outcome is something that we shouldn't commit ourselves to.
Thank you, councillor Englefield. Are there any other speakers for or against the motion? If not, I'll give councillor Thornton the right of reply.
At this point, I don't think I will add anything. I've made my submission. I feel strongly about it, and I feel that there is significant opportunity for council to establish the working group, and I would like to, put that forward in its current state and look forward to the debate on the issue coming up in the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Thornton. With that, I'll put the motion, so I can just put that up there again, Sharon. So the motion is there. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? The motion is lost. Could I have an alternative motion, councillors? Councillor Englefield,
I'd move the motion as per the officer's recommendation.
as per recommendation. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Seconded, councillor Broad. Councillor Englefield, do you wish to speak?
The key premise to both of these submissions is that council purchase the Robin Vale pub site, and as relayed in the officer's report, the previous council, to their credit, spent considerable time and effort actually exploring those options. The option of compulsory acquisition was actually reasonably well known within the community. And as has also already been explained, on legal advice, council does not have the strategic or any viable document that suggests that it's a significant strategic thing for council to participate in, and the legal advice was that maybe we should look at purchasing it. And again, to the credit of the previous council, those lawyers on council's behalf made 2 approaches at about a 6-monthly interval, as I understand it, to the landowner, with a view to initiating discussions on the possibility of the council purchasing the site. Both those approaches were dismissed out of hand, so discussions didn't even get off the ground. So the ask of the petitions has been considered and has met up with a brick wall. So the disappointing thing from my point of view was that the second part of that, where the approaches by the previous council to the owner to purchase weren't actually communicated to the community, which may very well have participated a different petition. And I was surprised, as everybody, as everybody probably in Robin Vale is that read the reports after last month's council meeting, that's in fact what had already happened. So we've been down this path, and it's probably demonstrated by the fact at the moment that of all the parcels that are advertised for sale, the title that the pub actually sits on is not one of them. So it's really a moot point to ask council to purchase the properties when we've actually already explored that as an option and it's led nowhere. And then we have all of those other issues on top of it. Should we pay an exorbitant price? What are we going to do with the liability? Is what funds would we have to expend, the millions of dollars we would have to expend there to achieve an outcome? And is that an acceptable and valid thing for council to burden our ratepayers with? And there's plenty of evidence that suggests, particularly from our independent heritage assessment, where they do actually make the comment that there is not a good heritage outcome possible at this site. Now, that's unfortunate. Would I personally, would I very much have preferred the pub hadn't caught fire in 2015 and was still there as a functioning building? Absolutely. But unfortunately, we've been handed the cards we've been handed and we have to make a decision. We can't keep kicking the can down the road. And I think today's the day that we make a decision.
Thank you, Councillor Englefield. Councillor Broad, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just quickly, would like to echo what Councillor Englefield said, and just in saying that council has considered purchasing the site. It's not an idea that has been raised and has been dismissed by council. Council has explored it, and the petition requests that council consider, and I do believe council has considered the purchase of the site. So really just to emphasise, Councillor Englefield, it was considered. Thanks.
Thank you. Do we have any speakers against the motion? Councillor Thornton?
I'm not going to delve too deeply into it, but at this point I wanted to make a shout out and highlight, whilst Councillor Englefield notes plenty of evidence on the heritage, I think that we should make mention of Annie Mae Goldring, who has done significant research herself and identified key aspects that were omitted or missed in the council's heritage study. And just wanting to highlight the excellent work and the pride and the effort that Annie Mae Goldring and other community members have put in working through and developing these petitions, doing the research. It shows a great love and care for the heritage, for the story that is the Robinvale Hotel. And I am in awe of the community and brave young women like Annie Mae Goldring.
Thank you, Councillor Thornton. Does anybody else wish to speak for or against? Councillor Jennings?
I'd just like to speak for the motion. Well, like the rest of us, it's a difficult decision, and I also applaud the people of Robinvale for the people that have put their names to the submission for their passion and obvious love of the old building. But I just believe that along with Councillor Broad, that we have explored a number of options, including the compulsory acquisition that came to a dead end. When we first talked about some meetings ago about the prospect of council buying it, I thought that's a good outcome, that would be a good solution. But at the end of the day, it's privately owned. He's shown no appetite for wanting to sell that particular block, and I don't believe that this should be a purchase at any price. And I firmly believe that council can and will look to expend those types of dollars on more worthwhile projects within the community, and that having that site knocked down and, you know, who's to say 5 years, 10 years time, we still don't have a development there, that money could be better spent in the Robinvale community for better use for all of Robinvale.
Thank you, Councillor Jennings. Anybody else wish to speak to the motion? If not, Councillor Inglefield, would you like the right of reply to your motion?
Just to say that, you know, It's fair to say that no matter which side of the argument you're on or debate that you're on in Robinvale, 99% of the people would prefer this outcome. That the position that the pub's in was not the position that it's in. But we're here charged as a group of people to do what's in the best interests of all of our rate base. And sometimes difficult decisions have to be made. And as I said before, I would very much prefer that I wasn't having to make this decision, but I do. And I don't shy away from that. So, as I said before, I think decision time is here. And I'll go home at the end of today's meeting and take a deep breath. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Engfield. With the debate had, I will now can you just put that motion's moved as per recommendation. So I'll now put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Motion is carried. Thank you, councillors, and thank you, Ms Granger, for the detailed report in response to the petitions. We will move on to item 2.2 on the agenda, which is the planning application for 70 Perrin Street, Robinvale, partial demolition of a commercial building, being the Robinvale Hotel within the heritage overlay. Ms Granger, your report, please.
Thank you, Mayor. So the purpose of this report is to provide you with an overview of the application for partial demolition of the Robinvale Hotel in the heritage overlay. So it's only the heritage overlay that is the actual planning permit trigger why this application is in front of you. Again, this application was deferred at last council meeting to bring back to today. Since the deferral, council's received additional information from an objector and a further 2 letters of support for grant of the permit, which have been attached and separately circulated for you. Key issues to be considered is the impact of demolition in relation to the heritage significance of the hotel site. As we've discussed previously, that in order to assist council in making this decision and assessing the application against planning policy, we sought an expert report from an independent heritage advisor. The current state of the building is described as severely deteriorated, posing safety hazards and contributing to visual blight at a prominent location within the Robinvale CBD. Even though it is protected by a heritage overlay which holds local historical and social significance, the building is presently in disrepair and presents fire and safety hazards, and it detracts from the aesthetics of town. The application that you have before you was supported by an engineering report and a heritage assessment. And that report concluded that mitigation and demolition can be achieved. There has been a number of objections. We've gone through a process where the objections and supporters to the application have had a chance to talk to council about their concerns. The issues raised by the community talk about loss of heritage significance, would like to retain and preserve notable features. That's the facade and the Canary Island palm trees, lack of community consultation and transparency, that there's an alternative vision and a future use, call for a public forum, demolition based on disrepair is unlawful, that there's been a nomination for the site to go on the Victorian Heritage Register, that our report contradicts heritage policy, and that the proposed demolition is not supported for fire safety. Council has taken on board the range of feedback and again refer to the independent heritage assessment we've got. The heritage advice supports the demolition of the building and actually says in the report that taking into account all of the information provided, the findings of previous reports and a review of the heritage significance of the building, it's the view of this report that the application for demolition can be supported. and that it should be noted and stated that it's highly regrettable that works to better stabilise and weatherproof the structure, as well as prevent unauthorised access, were not able to be completed shortly after the fire in 2015, because that would have increased the chances of a successful restoration of the building. Council's not received any formal notification about nomination of this site to the Victorian Heritage Register. In turning to the grounds of seeking additional engineering or fire safety assessment reports, whether provided by council or by the applicant, this is not a requirement of the heritage overlay, but we do note that we had such reports submitted. Any future development of the site is going to require a planning permit because it's in a commercial zone and because it's in the heritage overlay. So it will be required that any new build have some recognition of what was formerly on site incorporated into its design. So the recommendation is that council issue a notice of decision to grant a permit for demolition of the building, and it's subject to a number of conditions. Some of those conditions are that any future planning permit application have regard to the design, and this would be transferred via Section 173 agreement onto the title, so any future purchaser would be very much aware of that requirement, that any demolition establish tree protection barriers, and that the site be left in a neat and tidy manner. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Granger. Any questions, councillors, in regards to this? Councillor McPhee?
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Look, I understand it's only a heritage overlay in relation to the site currently, but if there was a Heritage of Victoria on that site, what is the chance of, or is there any possibility that a Heritage Victoria would supply funding to build a building with the facade there?
Yeah, so Heritage Victoria has some limited funding opportunities, and that money is well sought after. It's a very competitive grant process. I would be thinking it may well be unlikely that a Heritage Victoria grant would be given to a building in such disrepair.
Any other questions? If not, I've got a couple. Ms Granger, just on the following up on Councillor McPhee's with regards to Heritage Victoria, obviously we've now got the Pioneer Settlement that's heritage listed. Since that heritage listing, have we been successful in obtaining any additional funds from Heritage Victoria to do any works, CapEx or capital or maintenance type works at the Pioneer Settlement?
No, we haven't.
No? Okay. Another question, are we able to request that we receive a planning application prior to commencement of demolition? So, for example, so that we know exactly what's proposed prior to commencement of demolition, or is that not able to be requested?
So we have not asked for that. So the application is for demolition. What we've asked for is that they give us records to show what was on site and take a good photographic display of what's existing. But by making this decision, we're giving the consent for them to demolish.
Yeah, but just on that, could a condition be that we require the future planning application prior to commencement of demolition, or is that not something that we can request?
That's not something we can request, so we've taken the next best opportunity and applied a Section 173 agreement to ensure that the elements of design are considered in the further planning permit application. But you can't have one planning permit require another planning permit to be launched.
Thank you. That's what I was sort of getting at, I suppose. Thank you. And last question, in the proposed conditions, there's a whole lot of things in there that relate to the satisfaction of the responsible authority, which I assume is us,
Yes, that's
being the
correct.
responsible authority. What, given the sensitivity, I guess, around this permit application, what resources do we have as the responsible authority to make sure that these conditions are going to be adequately monitored and adequately met?
So we would be needing to ensure we've got resources, we'd be needing to be in contact with the applicant, but we also need to acknowledge that prior to demolition occurring, a building permit will need to be issued, and part of the building surveyor responsibility is to make sure planning permit conditions are also addressed. But we will need to keep an eye on this one.
Great, thank you. Is that something that has to be done by planning officers, or can it be done by local laws, for example, or must it be done by a planning officer?
Compliance with the planning permit should be by a planning officer, but we can use other resources in council or contractors to help us ensure conditions are met.
Great, thank you. If there's no further... Yep, Councillor McPhee.
If for some chance we were to defer this again, has the applicant got opportunity to go to VCAT, and by doing that, does that limit our opportunities for having conditions put on the permit?
Yeah, so if we defer it again, we're well beyond our 60-day statutory time limit, and the applicant has the right to take us to VCAT for failure to determine. In the case of failure to determine, VCAT becomes the decision maker. They would ask us for conditions. We would give this list of conditions, but whether or not they're all on the permit is at VCAT's discretion, not council's.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, councillors? If not, Councillor Thornton.
I'd like to move an amended motion that council defer making a decision on the planning permit for partial demolition of the Robinvale Hotel, and that council seek an independent engineering assessment on the Robinvale Hotel that specifically considers elements of the building that could be retained and the likely costs associated with retention, together with partial or full demolition.
Thank you. Again, councillors, just for context, I'll ask if you have any questions of Councillor Thornton in relation to that motion. If there's no questions, do I have a seconder for the motion? If there is no seconder, then the motion lapses for one of the seconder, Councillor Thornton. So could I ask for another motion? Councillor Englefield.
As per officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Englefield. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor McPhee. Councillor Englefield, you wish to speak to the motion?
Yeah, Mr Mayor, this has been going on, obviously, as everyone's well aware, for 10 years now. And as I said before, I think it's time we stop kicking the can down the road. There's enough information, particularly in regard, and the one that carries a significant amount of weight for me is, in fact, our own independent heritage assessment, because that's really what we are considering here, the remaining, if any, heritage value in the building. And our independent heritage assessment is that there is not a good heritage, unfortunately, there is not a good heritage outcome here. And so the next best option is that we, for the sake of the amenity of Parent Street and the overall feel of the town, that the site be cleaned up, but we have the opportunity to put some conditions on that will at least provide a historic nod to what was there, and any future building, for example, would need to have some elements of the Spanish Mission style that the pub is in, that the current pub is in. So that there is a nod to what had historically been there. So as unfortunate as it is, I think we should just bite the bullet, put the conditions on that we feel best, give the best outcome that's possible, and hopefully move forward.
Thank you, Councillor Englefield. Councillor McPhee, you wish to speak?
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Yeah, look, this decision has been pending for a long time. The community of Robinvale is divided on this, and it is a difficult decision in relation to any planning matter. I've said before, unfortunately, there are always winners and losers. Under our planning policy, when you talk clause 15.03, heritage conservation, some of the objectives have said about we need to conserve the heritage. But in that it says to discourage demolition. Doesn't mean we can't do it. So we are able to demolish heritage, and unfortunately the state of repair of this particular place is beyond that. I think by trying to save the facade, look, it could be saved at a cost, but then what cost to the developer that's going to impact what the possibility they could build there. I think the best place and the best outcome at this stage is to have the site cleared. At least that will take the ugly site out of the centre of Robinvale, being that burned out building, and it gives the opportunity, if that developer doesn't want to go ahead, any other developer into the future, a cleared site where they can spend a lot of money and build a terrific facility in that ideal location. It's not an opportunity for council to buy the land. We did look at that, as was spoken about before, in relation to the petitions. It was just out of our range, the money that was involved. We already have a site in Robinvale, being Herbert Street, which we are trying to sell, and we're having not a lot of interest in that. So it would come at a cost. If we were to buy something else, we're going to have all this land that no one's going to buy. That's not a good outcome for the ratepayers neither. I think it's the best outcome for the Robinvale community is to have this site cleared, and it gives them a great opportunity into the future to get a decent development at that site and not be hamstrung by the facade. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McPhee. Are there any speakers against the motion? Councillor Thornton?
I would just like to put forward to my fellow councillors that whilst the planning application has been triggered because of the heritage value, I think that further work that may have been considered may have taken some time, but would have also looked at, say, what the cost of saving some of the other community values that Robinvale holds for that site. So the heritage values are one thing, but the love, the stories, and the significant site that can contribute to economic development in the town would have warranted further work with a really clear time frame. Nonetheless, the matter has now been dealt with.
Thank you, Councillor Thornton. Are there any other speakers in favour of the motion or against the motion? No other speakers. Councillor Englefield, do you wish to have the right of reply?
Only just again to say, Mayor, that for all of the community in Robinvale, this is not a pleasant time or decision that's been made here today, but hopefully we have an outcome and the community can move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Englefield. With that, I will now put the motion. All those in favour of the motion? Those against? The motion is carried. And I just want to reiterate and thank councillors for the respectful debate. Obviously, decisions like this are difficult, but I thank you for engaging in respectful debate, exploring all the issues, all the topics. We understand that, as Councillor Englefield pointed out, that there's always two sides to these sort of matters, but we will move forward based on decisions made today. And I thank the Robinvale community as well for their, specifically the Robinvale community, for their interest in this matter, and their various people's representations from both sides to councillors. So look forward to further engagement with the Robinvale community on other matters in Robinvale in particular. We'll now move on to agenda item 2.3, planning application 33 Latchy Road, Robinvale, development of land for 3 dwellings. Ms Granger.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is an application for 3 units. There's an existing dwelling on site. It's in 33 Latchy Road in Robinvale, and that's land exists on the corner of Robin Street and Latchy Road. Council gave notice of the application and we've received 1 objection. The site's on the periphery of the commercial precinct, so it's quite close to be able to walk to town, so it's an area that could absorb further dwellings. We've done a planning assessment against policy and clause 55, and we think that the proposed development aligns well with the objectives of promoting increased residential density in established areas. It introduces a higher density format that will demonstrate an integration with the surrounding built form, and recent multi-dwelling developments to the north and east of the site, including some semi-detached homes along Robin Street, show that higher density housing is becoming more common in the area. So we are dealing with an application general residential zone where housing is encouraged. In relation to the objection, the concerns raised were about car parking, traffic impacts. The measures during demolition, there was concern about asbestos maybe being in the existing dwelling and the number of dwellings. From a demolition perspective, they're not issues council can turn their mind to in this circumstance because they're triggered under the building regulations, not the planning regulations. The assessment of the proposal against the requirements of clause 55 of the scheme, which are quite extensive, shows that the 3 dwellings can be appropriately accommodated on the lot and that they are quite modest in size. So we are supporting this application and seeking that council, the recommendation is that council issue a notice of decision to grant a planning permit subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Granger. Are there any questions in relation to this matter, councillors? If there are no questions, can I have a motion? Moved Councillor Jennings, seconded Councillor
We can both.
You had it up
We can
first,
both.
Councillor Jennings, so
we can both
Councillor-
speak to it.
Moved Councillor Jennings, seconded Councillor Englefield. Councillor Jennings.
Thanks, Mayor. I think this is a good outcome for Robinvale. There's so much conversation around housing, affordable housing and lack of housing across all municipalities. There's been some things that have been done in Robinvale of recent times through our couple of developments, and this just further adds to it. A net gain of 2 dwellings on this particular site. The development aligns with our objectives. There were some concerns raised that have been addressed. It will have a positive impact by supporting housing in an established area, noting that there is a recognised shortage, so I think it's a good outcome. It's within that, it will complement the recognised neighbourhood character, so I'd commend this to councillors.
Thank you, Councillor Jennings. Councillor Englefield.
Yeah, just reiterate those comments from Councillor Jennings. I mean, this is a good outcome, and hopefully we see a lot more of them.
Thank you, Councillor Englefield. Does anybody wish to speak against the motion? Does anyone else wish to speak in favour of the motion? Councillor McPhee.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Yeah, listen, it is a great opportunity. Look, we've issued right across housing, right across our municipality and across Australia, actually. But so any development like this is great, and I think it's about not only providing housing, it's providing a diverse range of housing. These are smaller units, close to facilities, they're an ideal location for that. So it's about giving people a choice and certainly encourage this sort of development into the future. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor McPhee. Does anyone else wish to speak to the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Thank you. Item 2.4, which I've declared a conflict of interest in, so I'll ask Councillor McPhee to take the chair and I'll leave the room. Thank you.
Right. Okay, thanks, councillors. Ms Granger, over to you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So this report provides recommendations for you on our community grants program, where we issue grants to our community under the Community Development Fund and the Event Support Fund. For the Community Development Fund, we generally have a maximum of $5,000 for eligible community groups to carry out their objectives and do works. In this most recent round of funding, we received a total of 33 applications, with 30 deemed eligible for assessment and 21 have been recommended for funding through this stream. The successful applicants will contribute about $72,000 of cash in kind and sponsorship funding, which matches council's funding stream of $72,000. So that is a good return on investment. There's a broad cross-section of projects recommended for approval throughout the municipality, including Swan Hill, Lake Boga, Nya West, Annuello and Manangatang. If I then turn to the Event Support Fund, this provides cash contributions or logistical support up to the value of $5,000 for event organisers, but does allow the committee, under exceptional circumstances, to grant more than the $5,000 for an event that might attract a wider audience. Event funds include both new and emerging events. They have a strong economic and social benefit to the region. They promote growth and they develop or innovate on ways to expand an event. In considering this round of funding, we received 30 applications, and that's a bit down from last year where we received 49. We have a budget of $110,000, which is both cash contributions and logistical support. And logistical support might be covering traffic management, permits that we issue, and other areas where council can assist the event organisers. In this case, we also received a late application, and our policy would usually require us to bring back a separate report. But because we received a late application as part, while we were still considering this process, and that the event would be held prior to our next council meeting, we've included it into this report for consideration. And that is for the Mallee Almond Blossom Festival, who were usually a regular applicant for funding. The committee that assesses these has been asked for comment on whether or not we should support the late application, and there was unanimous support. So we are looking at allocating the cash sponsorship amount of $74,000, just over $74,000, to community groups to run events, with about $33,000 of logistical support. This is a really exciting program for council to support our communities, to run events and to buy new equipment, upgrade their facilities. So I'd really seek council support to the recommendation contained.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Broad.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just a question. Are we as council legislated to provide community grants at all?
No, it's not a legislative obligation, but it's something council's been doing for years. That's, the community are really supportive of these programs.
No, I have a couple of questions, Ms Granger. First one, the Mayor's declared a conflict of interest in this because of one specific grant. He's been involved in the committee on that. What happens in that selection for that particular item?
He leaves the room during the assessment of that item where he has declared a conflict of interest, and that's been noted.
Thank you. And also, just in relation to the funding, you've been oversubscribed by a number, and my figures say there's $7,400 left in both accounts. If we're oversubscribed, why do we keep some money in the back? Why didn't we spend it all?
I suppose from the Community Development Fund application where it works, it's harder to actually come up and meet a whole figure. That allows us, if we get a late application, to support it. And again, I suppose we get as close as we can to the overall figure when we're doing the assessment, but it doesn't always end up in whole dollars because someone might ask for $2,650. So
Yep.
we get as close to the mark as we can.
All right. And just one last question in relation to the events. In the past, some of these events have asked for sponsorship from Swan Hill Inc. as well as council. Do we consider that when we're giving those community or those events the funding?
We do consider that, and we also consider other funding sources that they have. So there's some applications that have demonstrated they have other people who will co-fund or give them money. So it's not necessarily that our grant provides all the assistance that the club or organisation may need.
Thank you. Councillor Thornton.
Is it normal that the council, other councillors who aren't the delegates on this committee don't see the full range of applications, or is it?
Yeah, so it's my understanding that this process was modified a few years ago to actually have a specific number of councillors involved, and that because they're involved and it's an open process, that there's not a need to go right back to zero when council are considering these funding lines.
Thank you.
All right, there's no further questions, councillors. I'll ask for a motion. Councillor Broad.
As per the
Seconded.
recommendation.
Yep, thank you. Seconded, Councillor Thornton. Wish to speak to that, Councillor Broad?
Just quickly, thank you, Deputy Mayor. This is a really exciting program that we're able to, I guess, facilitate and deliver. And I think it's great that we're in a financial position as a council to be able to allow community events and groups to ask for support. There's a range of different events on that list. There's a lot to do in this municipality, and it's incredible that we as a council can support new and ongoing events. I think, yeah, very exciting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Broad. Councillor Thornton.
I'd like to just, celebrate our incredible community sector, and it was a great pleasure in looking at how many different organisations we have and how many different projects are taking place across the municipality. It's such a vibrant and exciting part of the work that we're doing, and I commend the community for taking the time to apply. It is onerous looking for funding, and there's always a chance that you're going to miss out. So well done to the community.
Thank you. Any other speakers for? Yeah, Councillor Jennings.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. I just support the comments of both my fellow councillors there, and it's terrific to see such a nice widespread of community groups and events that we're able to support through this project. I just flag too that going forward, perhaps for next year, FRRR funding for our community that we've been successful in getting may be able to facilitate some of these things in terms of equipment, computer equipment and facility and things of that nature. So it might free it up to some of the ones that missed the boat to reapply next year and make the cut. So there'll be another avenue for us to look at next year.
Thank you, Councillor Jennings. Any other speakers for or against? Being no other speakers, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Carried. Can we invite the Mayor back in? Yes, Mr Mayor, the motion was put as per the recommendation. That was passed.
Thank you, councillors. We'll move on to agenda item 2.5, the 2025 Australia Day events review. Sorry, Ms Granger, I think this one's yours. Ms Granger, thank you.
Thank you. So the purpose of this report is to provide you an overview of the 2025 Australia Day events and the community feedback that we received from people who attended and from those who didn't. We had an online survey for general community feedback as well. So Australia Day events this year, similar to 2024, were held over a 2-day period, the 25th and the 26th of January, with the format following a similar range of activities introduced in 2024. So we had citizenship ceremonies on the 25th and then Australia Day ceremonies on the 26th. We did a concerted effort to get feedback from the community and received 295 surveys. There was generally strong attendance at the various events. Generally, the community was supportive of what had been provided. There's still a belief from some, and I need to quantify how many the some is, responders, that all activities should be on the 26th of January and we shouldn't split it over the 2 days. There were suggestions for improvements to events. There was an understanding around the need for inclusion and openness of the events, and there was appreciation for the return of the Swan Hill Breakfast. In moving forward, some of the feedback we receive, particularly from our small towns, is that we've been providing them with the same amount of funding for a number of years, and they'd like to see an increase of that funding to cover all of their costs. And we haven't increased the amount of funding that we give to either the small towns or Robinvale for some time, which have been set at $150 for small towns and $500 for Robinvale. In the case of the Swan Hill Breakfast, Council last year, in order to have the event run by service clubs, provided a grant of $5,000. And then we have been successful over the last 2 years of getting Australia Day funding for a Shared Connections event that has been run by our First Nations community. So it's suggested that in 2026 that we have capacity within our existing budget to contribute $1,000 towards the event in Robinvale for all the small towns, to double the $150 to $300 contribution to their events, and to retain the Swan Hill Breakfast at $5,000. And that fits within our existing budgets and allows for a number of contingencies as the events evolve. So the recommendation is that we maintain the format in 2026 that we had in 2025 of holding the program over 2 days. We increase the allocations, and again, we apply for federal funding to host the First Nations Shared Connections event.
Thank you, Ms Granger. Any questions in relation to this report, councillors? Councillor McPhee?
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Yeah, just I have asked Ms Granger this, but just making it in a public meeting. When they referred to, of those 126 surveys, some, could she get back to the council on the actual, what some is, how it refers to at a later time? And also in relation to the $10,000 for the Shared Connections event, can you give us a, in a later time, not at this meeting, a breakdown of what that money was spent on?
Happy to take those on notice.
Thank you. Any other questions on that, councillors? Question for me, in the event well, same different questions, when does that funding get announced? And in the event that if we were unsuccessful, what's the proposed direction then? Are you proposing this would come back to council for further consideration, or where do we go from there?
Yeah, so the Australia Day event gets opened by the federal government. In the last 2 years, we've put in an application and know we've been successful within a week. So we should have a clear indication fairly early as to whether or not we're successful in that funding again. And if we're not successful, then I imagine we would be looking at what our options are and bringing another report back to council.
Okay, thank you. And just further to that, that funding is specific for, just to be clear, that's specific for First Nations events?
No, it's an Australia Day event funding because we've already had budgets allocated and the work we've been doing with our First Nations about bringing the events together and acknowledging Australia Day. We had been applying for fairly specific funding. If you wanted to broaden our application, that's something, again, we could discuss.
Okay, thank you. If there's no other questions, I'll seek a motion, councillors. Moved as per recommendation. Councillor Jennings, do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Thornton, thank you. Councillor Jennings, wish to speak.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Participated last year in these events, and I think they were very well received, as we've discussed at other meetings. So I see that it's no reason to change it for this particular year, and I'm sure that the smaller communities, Robinvale included, will appreciate the extra funding to be able to run their events as well. So I think this is a very good thing that we're involved in.
Thank you, Councillor Jennings. Councillor Thornton.
Just second Councillor Jennings's comments on small communities, and I think it is great to see the continued support for the small community events, because it was my experience this year that, yeah, it's one of the only opportunities actually for the communities to come together, aside from football and things, that they don't have a specific event other than this to come together. So welcome that continued support.
Thank you, Councillor Thornton. Does anybody else wish to speak to the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Agenda item 2.6, Swan Hill Incorporated Annual Budget, Marketing Plan and Strategic Plan. Ms Granger, you're up again.
Last one, I think. So the purpose of this report, Council, is to give you an update on Swan Hill Incorporated's 25-26 budget, strategic plan and marketing plan in accordance with the special marketing rate agreement. And this is a requirement that we need to meet before we can share with Swan Hill Inc. that special rate that we collect. The rate's been in place for 19 years and has proved to be invaluable. You've had a presentation from Swan Hill Inc. that has led you through their strategic plan and how they seek to increase direct engagement and communication and work with our businesses and communities. You've seen a copy of their destination marketing strategy and a copy of their budget. In their destination marketing strategy, they've celebrating the launch of the very successful Whatever the Season campaign, and saw the board track the benefits of being delivered by visitors and then using that information to inform and marketing what the benefits have been. The annual budget shows that they currently have a deficit budget and will spend the money allocated in marketing, a membership of Murray Region Tourism Association, for the Food and Wine Festival, which is their premier event. They have a gift card campaign, retail promotions and forums. So this report is seeking that Council adopt the incorporated marketing plan, strategic plan and annual budget.
Thank you. Any questions, councillors? No questions? Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Jennings?
As per the recommendation, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jennings. Do I have a seconder? Councillor McPhee? Councillor Jennings, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. As most of you are aware, I have a long history with Swan Hill Inc. going back to its very formation, so I'm quite passionate about the success of Swan, and quite enthused about the success of Swan Hill Inc., particularly in the last few years. And it is a process, or the levy is something that is the envy of a lot of other councils that would love to have it in but weren't able to get one up. It's now very well supported by the traders who see the benefits of it. It's very professionally run. The product that comes out is great, and I just think that it's a very great thing for the community, or the business community, including industrial, hospitality and the like, to be able to market specifically themselves, and I think they do a wonderful job, so I'm very much in support of it.
Thank you, Councillor Jennings. Councillor McPhee?
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Yeah, look, congratulations to the board of Swan Hill Inc. And obviously their operations manager, their business development manager, Steve Colombo, who's taken that role on. We've had good people in the past. Steve's doing an exceptional job as well. You can see what by the advertising that is going on, and the fact that we made the top 10 in tourist towns. And I certainly hope everyone voted for it. I haven't heard a result yet, but let's keep our fingers crossed for that. I think they do a wonderful job in advertising our area, and that's money very well spent, and it's money that comes in from the businesses themselves. This isn't coming from rates, As Ms Granger said, it's a special rate scheme that are put onto the businesses. The money we raise from that goes to Swan Hill Inc, and this is what this whole process is about. And they do a wonderful job, and I certainly hope it continues into the future, because we are due for it to be reviewed and see if the businesses want to continue this model into the future. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, councillor McPhee. Do any other councillors wish to speak against or for the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? The motion is carried. And agenda item 2.7, Ms Granger, instrument of appointment and authorisation.
Okay, so this is a procedural item. We've appointed a new planner. So again, we're trying to keep a constant team of planners doing work for us. Part of their responsibilities require them to be authorised and have delegation. This report seeking that council authorise the officer. So I take the report as read and happy to take any questions.
Any questions, councillors? Councillor McPhee.
I've asked this before and I've forgotten what the answer was, but in relation to the planners that leave that we have given authorisation to, why doesn't a report come back to council for us to take their authorisation away?
Did you want to take that one?
Through you, Mayor, my understanding is that when a person leaves the employ, their authorisation automatically lapses. They retain the rights of as an authorised officer while they're in the employ of the council.
So, sorry, follow-up question to that. So if they went to another council, for example, they would need to be authorised then by that council to be an authorised officer for that council.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, that's correct. Each council is separately constituted under the Local Government Act.
Yep. Thank you. Councillor McPhee.
Can we just check that? Because I reckon last time we went through this process, I reckon there was a letter from the solicitor along those lines, and that's why I asked that question then, that they said they go away. I don't think it's linked to their employment here. We authorise them and they're authorised. Same as we authorise a police member in this area to be a authorised officer. Just because he leaves Swan Hill doesn't mean he's not an authorised officer in Swan Hill once he's left, for the local laws as well. So if you could just clarify that, that's all, Mr Mayor. Thank you.
Take it on
We will
notice.
check, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. If there's no other questions, could I have a motion, please? Councillor McPhee, seconded Councillor Englefield. Councillor McPhee, do you wish to speak?
Yeah, just quickly, Mr Mayor, this is just making the planning authorised officer able to do his business without having to come to council all the time. It's a great opportunity, and welcome our new planner on board. Hope we can keep him a bit longer than we usually keep planners. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor McPhee. Councillor Englefield, do you wish to speak?
No, I'll be right. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak to the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Motion is carried. Agenda item 2.8, Child Safe Standards Policy. Mr Myers.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors. No, this is not Miss Granger this time. This report is presented. It's the Child Safe Standards Policy of Council has been reviewed and updated, and it's being presented for adoption. Councillors will be aware that since 2016, Council has been one of the types of organisations that are required to be compliant with child safe standards. There were 7 original standards and they were upgraded to 11 in 2022, following various royal commissions and findings into institutional abuse and safety of children. So the policy's been reviewed by the subject matter experts within council offices. It reflects the new standards and ensures council's compliance with the legislation. So I'm presenting the reviewed and updated policy as presented, councillors.
Thank you, Mr Myers. Is there any questions in relation to this report, councillors? If not, motion? Moved, Councillor McPhee, seconded Councillor Broad. Councillor McPhee, you wish to speak?
Yeah, look, it's just been updated basically. There's no change in the intent in this policy, but it's an area that we need to make sure this policy is kept up to date because of the issues that are happening around the state currently, and I'm sure that our officers will make sure that any implications from that, this policy may come back to us again. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor McPhee. Mr CEO.
Mr Mayor, I'd like to ask the councillors to amend it and remove as presented at the end of the recommendation. It should be a standalone motion. That council adopt the reviewed child safe standards policy, full stop.
Are you happy to accept that? Councillor McPhee?
I think it makes much difference. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you. Councillor Broad, you wish to speak to the motion?
Nothing further.
Happy to accept the
Yes.
the change? Thank you.
Yes.
Does anybody else wish to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Motion is carried. Agenda item 2.9, occupational health and safety policy. Mr Brown or Ms Morris, or both?
Thank you, Mayor. The revised occupational health and safety policy is put forward for council consideration. The previous policy was adopted in 2021, and as part of our suite of policies, we have a program of reviewing them. There's very few changes to the policy, and these basically include some additional consultation and promotion activities to more clearly specify the key roles and responsibilities. I think it's a policy that council can very safely adopt, and I commend the recommendation. Leaving out, as our CEO has suggested for the last item, that the lines as shown in the attachment. So the recommendation is that council adopt the reviewed occupational health and safety policy CPOL-08S901.
Thank you. Anything to add to that, Ms Morris?
No.
Any questions, councillors, in relation to this this report? If not, do I have a motion? Move Councillor Englefield. Seconder. Councillor Thornton. Thank you. Councillor Englefield, do you wish to speak?
No, then we just obviously keep these policies all up to date. That's a good thing.
Thank you. Councillor Thornton, do you wish to speak?
Nothing to add.
Thank you. Any other speakers for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Thank you. Agenda item 2.10, update on the proposed sale of 15 Feltman Lane, Swan Hill. Ms Morris, thank you.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. As councillors are aware that council does own some property located on 15 Feltman Lane, Swan Hill. That is within the southwest precinct, and there is a picture of the location up there on the screen for all those to see. In 2021, council received an expression of interest from a prospective purchaser to purchase the site. We then came back to council and council resolved to give public notice to sell that site. In a separate report presented to council in 2022, we actually considered consolidating the road reserve portion that sat alongside Feltman Lane to make it a larger parcel of land, which we did do. And then council resolved again to commence the statutory process to discontinue that portion of the road reserve, and went through the required recommendations, and that was completed, resulting in a larger parcel of land. We then had some discussions in 2022, the purchase or the prospective purchaser had secured a more suitable site that they were looking for, so we did not then progress to sell the land, and then we were asked to consider holding that parcel of land in 2023, as it was identified that the timing may not be ideal for maximising the value for council. And then now, or recently, council have engaged a consultant to develop the master plan at Ken Harrison Reserve, and within that piece of work, it has been identified that it may be a significant parcel of land that we should potentially hold on to, which could then be used as a transfer of land at a later stage. So I have given you some implications in relation to the financial, social, economic and risk management implications, and the options that council continues to progress the proposed sale of Feltman Lane in accordance with the previously adopted resolution, or rescind the resolution made in December 2021, and that the sale of Feltman Lane be deferred, awaiting future considerations in relation to the Ken Harrison Reserve, and we recommend that Council rescind the original resolution made in December 2021, 17421 motion, to give the public notice to sell the land, and that the sale of 15 Feltman Lane be deferred, awaiting future considerations in relation to the future of Ken Harrison Reserve.
Thank you, Ms Morris. Any questions, councillors? No questions. Could I have a motion? Move Councillor Jennings. Seconder? Councillor McPhee. Councillor Jennings, do you wish to speak?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I just think this gives us some flexibility down the track that whether we utilise it ourselves or we use it in some form of land swap, that's going to be a development area in time to come, and for the amount of money that's quoted as a valuation, we should hang on to this land rather than sell it off and give ourselves some flexibility down the track.
Thank you, Councillor Jennings. Councillor McPhee, do you wish to speak?
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Yeah, look, as Councillor Jennings said, look, it's this is a strategic decision. We've had we had one purchaser or one prospective purchaser. They've bought other land, so now we have no one on the books wanting to buy it. With the opportunity for development of Ken Harrison into the future, with a master plan going on in that area, we may need more land around there, and this would be an ideal opportunity to make a swap if that opportunity comes to the fore. So I think it's a strategic place to not sell this land at this point in time. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor McPhee. Are there any speakers against the motion? Any other speakers in favour of the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Thank you. Agenda item 2.11, Community Satisfaction Survey 2025 results. Ms Morris.
Thank you. So the community satisfaction results have been provided back to Council, and this takes into consideration the opinions of 400 local people about how they feel about council services and how they think that we've been performing as a council as a whole. The results are displayed within the report. It is obviously the three top performing areas are the Arts Centre and libraries, which resulted again in a fairly high score of 72, and this is compared to the group averages. Waste area continues to rate highly on 70, and they've had that same result over the past 3 years, and the appearance of public places again increased by 6 points up to 70 this year. So they're the three top performing areas. The lowest performing areas the building and planning and building permits, which rated at 39, but this has increased compared to the previous year, so that's a great result. Unsealed roads resulted in 39 points. Again, that had increased by 7 points compared to the previous year, as well as sealed roads, which with a rating of 45, which had increased by 10 points on the previous year. So there has been improvement in all areas of the survey, which has been quite positive for council to see. Customer service again was up 7 points, up to 66, which is on par with statewide average and large rural groups. And council direction, which scored 50, which was up 10 points from 2024, showing an increased confidence in council's leadership. The demographic that rated council's performance as the lowest was the 35 to 49-year-olds, while the residents of 65 years and older rated council's performance higher than the council average. It's conducted by JWS Research, an independent body. Some of the results from these, the Community Satisfaction Survey, also used and published in the annual report. It is I've also provided the graph there that shows, or full table that shows all the results, so you can see the results compared to 2024 against Swan Hill, against the statewide average and against large rural councils. What is some of the drivers of satisfaction? So the decisions made in the interest of community remains the strongest influence on council's overall performance, suggesting the need for transparency and ongoing engagement. And the other important areas include business and community development, family support service, and the condition of our local streets and footpaths also has a major influence. Communication preferences, so email newsletters suggested in the reports is the preferred method of communication, overtaking both mail and social media, and younger residents are still favouring social media, although that has decreased from year on year. The areas of improvement, so the top residents' concern are the sealed road maintenance, followed by community consultation and town planning, and residents continue to favour service cuts over rate increases to maintain the current level. Areas to sustain momentum, council could continue to focus on improving infrastructure, especially around roads and footpaths, targeting our communication with those groups that rated council the lowest, and maintaining high performance in customer service and cultural services, and also strengthening our transparency. We also had an additional roads question which resulted in a list of 26 roads that were of concern to the local community. 7 of those 26 roads are Department of Transport and Planning roads, and I've provided the list of roads there. So we're asking council today that they accept the results of the 2025 Community Satisfaction Survey and instruct the officers to place it on the website.
Thank you, Ms Morris. Any questions regarding the report? Councillor McPhee?
Just to our Director of Infrastructure, in relation to the areas for improvement, our residents' concern is one of the high ones is the road maintenance. Can you just give a rundown of what we have been doing in relation to road maintenance? Because I do believe that a lot of this is related to Vic roads, not ours.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. As officers, we've made a concerted effort over the last 12 months to really focus on responding to our customers, whether they're service requests that are coming in, and making sure we're providing a lot of feedback. We've also been trying to ensure that the community is well informed around our capital type of improvements that we're undertaking out in the community as well. One of the pleasing results from this survey, from my perspective as the Director of Infrastructure, is the sealed local roads figure has jumped from 35 to 45, which is a very substantial increase, and particularly when you compare it against the large rural shire average, which is 39. So in terms of where we score as a category, we're actually at 45, and that actually matches the state average. So I think that is testament that council has made a really big improvement in terms of what we're investing in prioritise and taking on that feedback that we received from the community. Similarly, from the unsealed roads perspective, we've again jumped from 32 to 39, and again the large rural average was 36, and the state average was 38. So we landed at 39. So again, in terms of the skills that we're also trying to train up our staff in terms of the way that we're maintaining our infrastructure as well, and we've actually got some really positive and great staff that's working in our works department to make sure that we are achieving these desired results.
Thank you. Councillor Jennings?
Follow-up question. Not so much a question, but we have just had come to a briefing, a report on the status of all roads. Just wondering when that will become public for people to be able to refer, or does it become public, and for people to be able to refer to, because from memory it showed all roads, sealed, unsealed and otherwise, and how regularly they were inspected and how regularly they were maintained. So it could become a good ready reckoner for people to refer to see when their road or how often it gets looked at.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. So we have had out on public exhibition at the moment Council's Road Management Plan, which is an obligation for us that sets the standards that we undertake inspections, and also our response times based on an intervention level to undertake repairs. So that has been out, as I said, for exhibition now, and that will be coming up in the next month for adoption by Council.
Just a quick question from me. The survey is a state government requirement, Ms Morris, is that
Correct. Yep.
Yep. And there's only certain survey companies that we can use to do this type of work. Is that how it works?
Some larger councils have actually got in-house surveys where they've got statisticians that can actually do the surveys themselves. We don't have that capacity internally here, but there are. This particular JWS has been used by the state government by a number of years now, probably the last 3 or 4 surveys.
Yep.
But
Okay.
others may be able to do it in the future.
Thank you. I think it's just important noting it's something that we
We have to do.
We're mandated to do by
Yeah.
by the state government as part of the Local Government Act. All right. Do I have a motion, councillors? Thank you. Move Councillor McPhee as per recommendation. Seconder? Councillor Jennings? Councillor McPhee, do you wish to speak?
Yeah, just quickly, Mr Mayor, this survey is done every year, and as Ms Morris said, it's only 400 people are telephoned. They try and get a diverse range of people to do this. You can see in the report how a lot of people, when they talk about roads, they don't understand council roads as against state roads, and we get blamed for some of the state roads all the time, which the majority of people are travelling up and down all the time. I just asked a question of our Director of Infrastructure to just show that we are doing a lot more work in relation to our roads, and the staff need to be complimented on that. Right across the organisation, we need to compliment everyone the fact that we have gone up, but got to be careful patting ourselves on the back because these surveys do go up and down, and we just hit the hurdle at the moment. Let's hope we stay at that level and not go back down the following year. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor McPhee. Councillor Jennings, do you wish to speak?
Nothing further to add, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Any speakers against? Any other speakers in favour? Councillor Thornton?
Just to note that, as I mentioned in the briefing when we looked at this report, firstly that it's great to see, some of the positive results, but also that it's a really useful survey for understanding what our constituents value in terms of our service delivery and everything else that's part of the survey. So yeah, really useful data. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Thornton. I'll now put the motion. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Thank you. And just again, I'll endorse Councillor McPhee's comments that it's great to get good results, and it is a reflection of the work that's been done. But rest assured, we won't rest on our laurels, and we know there is more work to do. We're not quite ready to go into camera yet, but if required, I can call a 5-minute adjournment. Councillor Jennings, I'll call a 5-minute adjournment, councillors.
Do you want a drink?
Thank you. We'll continue on with the meeting. Agenda item 2.12, appointment of 2 councillors to sign the annual financial statements. Mr Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an annual requirement. The Local Government Act requires 2 councillors to sign the annual financial statements and the performance statement, and there's a recommendation there. I understand it's normal Swan Hill practice to appoint the Mayor and Deputy Mayor. Well, that has been the tradition.
Any questions, councillors? No? If not, can I have a motion, which I'm assuming the motion will require the names of the
Yes.
councillors?
Yes.
Mr Brown? Yep, thank you. Do I have a motion? Somewhere? Councillor Jennings?
Yeah, as per the, the recommendation will be that the Mayor and Deputy Mayor be the signatories to that.
Thank you. You're right. Got that, Sharon, that's right.
Yep.
Seconded for that motion, councillor Englefield. Anything you might wish to say to the motion,
No.
councillor Jennings? Nothing. Councillor Englefield? Any speakers against the motion? Just waiting for that to... That's right, so that's clear. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Moving on to officer reports for noting. Agenda item 3.1, Audit and Risk Committee meeting minutes, which if there are any items that councillors wish to discuss with regards to the minutes, obviously they're confidential items, we will deal with in camera later in the meeting. Councillor
Just
McPhee.
move the motion as per the recommendation, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Have a seconder for that motion. Councillor Broad, anything you wish to say to that? Councillor McPhee.
Just, Mr Mayor, the Audit Committee play an important role. There's 3 independent members on it and 2 councillors. They meet quarterly and they just oversee, as I say, they're at arm's length from council. They just oversee the overall running of council to ensure that there's no issues in relation to that. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor McPhee. Councillor Broad. anything you wish
Nothing
to say?
further to add.
Any speakers against the motion? If not, all those in favour? Motion is carried. Thank you. Agenda item 4.1, councillor briefings, record of attendance and agenda items. Mr CEO.
Taken as read, Mr Mayor. If there are any errors or omissions, please let us know.
Any questions on that, councillors? Otherwise, can I have a motion? Thank you, Councillor McPhee. Seconder, Councillor Englefield. Anything you wish to say, Councillor McPhee?
It just shows the community that councillors are turning up to their briefings and doing what we're supposed to be doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Englefield. Anything you wish to say? Anybody wish to speak against it? All those in favour? Motion is carried. Thank you. We have no notices of motion. Have any foreshadowed items, councillors? Do we have any urgent items not included in the agenda? We will move on to consider and order on councillor reports. I'll give Sharon a moment to get those up. And we'll start with Councillor Broad.
Every time. Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, between battling a bit of sickness and going on a school camp and now on school holidays, I have been fairly quiet. But last night did attend the River Lights Light Show, which was incredible, and they've done a really good job, so well done to everyone involved. I would encourage everyone to head along. When we have things like this in town that are spectacular, it's really important that everyone gets along and attends. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Broad. Councillor McPhee.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Just a number of things. I'll just highlight one. Is I was fortunate to represent yourself at the changeover dinner for Sunrise Rotary. That's a Rotary club that, all the clubs do a wonderful job in our municipality, all the volunteers. They have a lot of younger members involved, and that's pleasing to see. I think all young people need to consider looking at volunteering somewhere in these groups. They do a great job, and it sort of helps put back into the community what the community has done for you over the years. So we do rely heavily on volunteers. If we, I've always said, if the ratepayer had to pay for what volunteers do, we could not afford to live. So I'd certainly encourage community members, when you get that opportunity, to be involved and volunteer in some way to help our community continue the way it does. Thank you.
Very good sentiments. Thank you, Councillor McPhee. Councillor Englefield.
Not a real lot this last month, but went to the REBA meeting the other night, which was actually really interesting. We had a presentation from people involved in next year's census and how do we capture the people that lurk around in all sorts of places. And obviously with Robinvale, it's a long-standing issue, and it was really interesting to hear the lengths that they're going to, but they will need to maintain that effort and probably even double their efforts, and I would guess it's the same here, so I don't know what's going on here. But there's a particular focus from the federal government and the census people on Robinvale, Euston, a particular focus. And so the presentation at REBA the other night was really good, and they have direct feedback to one of the commissioners.
Excellent, thank you.
So, yeah, well, the census is next year.
Next year, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, good information to have. Councillor Jennings.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just a comment there for Councillor Inglefield with regards to early years learning, childhood numbers for our municipality. One way that they did track it was the birth notices in the paper, and it was far in excess of the number that were recorded in the census. So there are other ways for them to identify population numbers, and it has been acknowledged recently just in terms of the number of young people we have in both Robinvale and Swan Hill. But as far as my commitments this last month, I was privileged to attend the ALGA conference with the Mayor and CEO and spend that time learning and observing the way that the group of 1,300 odd delegates from across the country met and discussed. There were some terrific speakers that I really enjoyed. In fact, it was one of the best conferences that I've been to, of bloody hundreds over the time. But it was a very worthwhile conference, and it gave us an opportunity to meet with some of our fellow councillors from close by, network, and have some discussions with them about like things. It's already been identified in mayoral columns and the like that there is quite a divide between the city and the country or rural municipalities, and our needs and their needs are quite separate, and the way we see things or go about things. But we did have the opportunity to meet as a rural group on the first day, which was also well worthwhile, and we had a dinner at Government House with some drinks beforehand as the guest of our local member, Dr Anne Webster. So all in all, it was a very worthwhile trip, and there will be a report. We'll come back to council at some time in the not too distant future. And along with fellow councillor Thornton, we attended coffee with a councillor at Naya on Saturday and gorged ourselves on Kranskis and whatever else they could feed us with. Weren't taking no for an answer. So no, it was... we had some good conversations that will come back to council officers for them to review, but there wasn't anything too alarming that they wanted to raise with us. So all in all, it was a good morning.
Great, thank you, Councillor Jennings. Councillor Thornton.
Thank you. Yes, I'll add, it was an enjoyable day on Saturday, and a shout out to Mick from Mick's Meals. His Kranskis were very good and he was very, very generous. I do have just 3 items that I wanted to make note of. One was how much I'm enjoying getting to know the Wooreen District Progress Association. You know, it's a community that I'm part of, but I haven't been involved in that organisation. And in particular, the last meeting that I attended, there was the last agenda item just showed extraordinary care for somebody who was not doing so well in the community, and there was just such support from the community organisation to get around that person, and I was just, you know, I was in awe, and I was so proud of the community organisation. And I also then spent a day on the gate with Lyndon Patterson, who is the secretary of the organisation at the Wooreen Football because they also man the gate at the Warranine football. Again, another opportunity to get to a better understanding of the group and the lengths that they've gone to connect with the rest of the community out there at Warranine and the different projects that they've had. So really wonderful. I just also wanted to say that I participated in the NAIDOC March on Monday, and I wanted to make a mention of the NAIDOC Week Committee, which is a fabulous committee of particularly young leaders who put on a week of incredible community connection and pride, and yeah, really impressed and grateful for what they're doing and what they're doing for their community. And just finally, attended the Golden Murray Water Customer Summit, and pleased to report that the new Pumped District Customer Committee is up and running and about to have their first meeting. Really enthusiastic to have a specific group for the 3 pipe districts within our municipality, and all of the members are really excited and ready to go to address the issues that our pump districts are facing. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thornton, and obviously that's a very important one for our irrigation districts in our municipality. A few things on mine. I won't dwell on the ALGA conference that Councillor Jennings has spoken about, but yes, that report will come to the next council meeting for presentation. But it was another great event to mix with the great speakers and the opportunity to network with councillors from all around the country. Whilst there, I contributed to the VLGA Connect podcast in regards to liquor licence application changes in Victoria, which was a great discussion with Chris Eddy, which is up and available on their website, of course, and quite a few unofficial things in there. One thing I did, and Councillor Thornton's already touched on NAIDOC Week. One thing I did want to touch on that I didn't put in my report there was that the Central Rivers Leagues defeated the Sunraysia League in the Interleague competition on the weekend. Shout out to our Robinvale people. I was going to be a winner either way because of Robinvale's involvement in the Sunraysia League. However, the good news out of that is that thanks to a little wager on the side, we can look forward to a morning tea which will be shouted by Mildura Mayor Councillor Helen Healy. So we will look forward to that one and thank the Central Rivers footballers for their win on the weekend. So, all right, that's it for the councillor reports. That's it for the items on the public agenda for this meeting. So we will move into camera shortly. I just want to thank the gallery and those watching on the live stream for your attendance at our meeting today. We will come out of camera, obviously, but there will be no further business other than to close the meeting when we come out of camera. So we thank you for your attendance today. Motion, thank you. Move in camera. Move Councillor McPhee, second Councillor Broad. Thank you. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you. With all business now concluded for the scheduled July meeting of Swan Hill Rural City Council, I will declare the meeting closed at 4:22 p.m.